Hey, kia ora, Helen Brahms here, coming to you live from Mesa in Arizona. Hope you're all having a super fantastic, sparkling, magic Monday. How has your day been? Has it been full of magic moments? We have had an awesome, awesome day here today. Um, I am still, we're 4 days. Oh, before I forget, very, very important thing I have to do right now. Happy birthday, Dad. It's my dad in New Zealand. It is my dad's birthday today, and I got a text message from my mum earlier. Actually from my dad because I sent him a happy birthday message, and I got a text from him earlier. They're about to go climbing the mountain, not to the top, just a couple of trails on Mount Taranaki, which is a mountain that I grew up under during my teenage years. So we used to live probably about an hour drive from the visitors centre there on Mount Taranaki. And we used to go and walk a lot of the trails there. So they're up there today walking one of the trails up there. So hope they have, and I know they'll be having a super fantastic sparkling time, especially if Mount Egmont, Mount Taranaki, same mountain. Especially if the mount is not in cloud, then there'll be some incredible, incredible views. And if you want to know where Mount Taranaki is, take out a map of New Zealand, look at the North Island, which is the one that looks like a shark. So the mouth is down at the south, the tail up the top end, and on the west coast there is this hump in the middle, and in the middle of that hump is a mountain, and that's Mount Taranaki. So they're up climbing that today. Well, walking some of the trails on it today. So I hope they have a great, great day, cloudless skies and all of that sort of thing for it, because it will be absolutely fantastic. It's phenomenal views from up there, especially on the north side of the mountain. There's some incredible, incredible views that you can get just from the visitor centre alone. So anyway, I totally forgot to do that this morning, so I'm glad I remembered to do it now. So how has your Magic Monday been? Don't know about you guys, but since on New Year's Eve, we talked about declaring the year complete, the year of 2020, declaring it complete and unlocking the door to 2021, opening it up, stepping it through and closing the door behind us on 2020. When I woke up on New Year's Day morning, sometimes I like to laze around, especially on a holiday or a weekend. I like to laze in bed and read. And I picked up my Kindle and I started reading. I was like, I don't feel like reading. It was like 5 o'clock in the morning, 5:15, somewhere around there. And so I thought, I really don't feel like reading. I'm going to get up. So I got up and, because, chilly mornings you like to laze in bed a little bit. So I got up and came out here and I did some, made myself a cup of tea, had a banana with my cup of tea, and just sat and contemplated the day and everything else. And then I was up and ready and raring to go. And Saturday, same thing. Normally on a weekend, we kind of laze around a little bit. Woke up around 5:30. Boom, we're out of bed and we're off and running. Even though it was only 57 degrees inside the RV, a little on the cold side. Usually in the mornings, I've been waking up, running out, putting the heater on, blowing air back into the bedroom because the bedroom's not on the same heating system that the front area is on. And then would run back to bed. It also helps conserve gas as well. So we're still conserving the propane. Still haven't found a propane delivery service yet. But I've noticed that when I sit down to work, to actually do any work that I've got, I'm actually committed to my calendar. And it's like this whole mental mind shift occurred sometime between when I went to bed at 12:45 a.m. on New Year's morning to when I woke up around 5:30 on New Year's Day. There's been this whole mental mind shift. It's like I am laser focused on things. When I am working on something, I am totally focused on it. I'm not bumming around like I used to and doing a little bit here, a little bit there. I am completely focused. So I've had a complete mind shift, and I think a lot of it came from the fact that I declared 2020 complete, unlocked the door for 2021, stepped through, closed the door behind me on 2020, locked it, and started moving forward into 2021. So I'm loving this mind shift. Loving this mind shift, not the other word. And about how focused I'm getting on things and how committed I am being to myself, to my clients, and just getting in there and doing what I need to do. So that's been, and it's still going, and it's going to go for the rest of the year. But this afternoon we took a break. We did some fun things this afternoon. Remember, 2021, fun in 2021. And so our fun thing activity this afternoon was after we emptied the tanks, which was a job we had to do, We then stayed outside. I filled up, Zephy's got a treat puzzle thing. I filled that up with the treats, put it down outside there, had her on the long tabber, and she went to town and got all of that out. And then I thought, okay, she's had her playtime. Let's see what she's like with training now, if we move to training. She was on it, on it, on it. You know, whatever I told her to do, she did. Snap, done. There was a couple of times when people were walking past that she got distracted with that, especially when the neighbors walked past with their dog to go for an evening stroll. She was distracted by that. But apart from that, she was on point. If I told her to sit, she sat. And we haven't really talked about walking at heel with her. We've done it every now and again, but we walked up and down the side of the RV, putting her in heel, and every few feet she would get a treat, but then holding the treat just above her nose helped a lot too. But with the leash that I'm using right now, it's a leash I got for Christmas last year and hadn't used it, but because of all the neck and shoulder issues I was getting from her constantly tugging, I suddenly remembered, oh, I have that leash. Let me go pull it out and try it. And it's got a waist belt. So the belt goes around your waist, then her leash clips onto that, and it's got a leash with a bungee cord in the middle of it, and then that leash hooks onto her harness, and she's not pulling as much as she used to because of that bungee thing in there. Because I just keep walking at a normal pace, and she'll decide to stay behind, and all of a sudden she's like, oh, we're getting lurched forward a little bit. But also, too, when she does the jerking thing, when she suddenly dives and all of that, the leash actually pulls her back a little bit. It's the funniest thing to see. She goes flying on something. She'll still have all feet off the ground, and all of a sudden she comes flying back a little bit, and she lands on her feet, and she sort of like looks around and says, like, well, that didn't really work. But so we're going to try some walk to heel this afternoon when we go out for our evening walk and see how that goes. But she was on point today. She was very good. She actually went in the down position and stayed when I told her to stay, and I walked away a few. In the Love to Read Classics book club, our first novel we're going to be reading is Tom Sawyer. I'll put the link to join the Facebook group in the description of this movie and of this live. I don't know where my head's at today. We're already past the work, but we're into the fun thing. And so I thought, to give me some background on the author, I'm going to read his autobiography, and he actually has it. The Kindle version is free. But for some reason, Amazon won't let me read it in the cloud Kindle, but it will let me read it when it's on a device. And I was like, that's really weird. So I can get it on my phone, but I can't get it on my Kindle. And I can read it on the Kindle app that's on the Mac, but the Kindle app on the Mac is not playing nice. You click over 2 pages, boom, the thing crashes. So trying to read this has been a challenge, but I will figure it out at some point. But what interested me was I only got as far as the preface, and the preface was actually written by Mark Twain himself. And I thought it was very interesting about how he did this and why he did this. And so in the preface, and it's just a very short bit, so I'm going to read it out to you, but I want you to listen to why he's doing what he's doing here. And it got me thinking about things, when we talk about stuff, how much do we keep back? And how much would we keep back if nobody was around to see what was going on, or to be able to comment to us? So he said here in the preface, Mark Twain wrote, in this autobiography, and so he wrote the whole thing himself, I shall keep in mind the fact that I am speaking from the grave. I am literally speaking from the grave because I shall be dead when the book issues from the press. I speak from the grave rather than with my living tongue for a good reason. I can speak thence freely. When a man is writing a book dealing with the privacies of his life, a book which is to be read while he is still alive, he shrinks from speaking his whole frank mind. All his attempts to do it fail. He recognizes that he is trying to do a thing which is wholly impossible to a human being. The frankest and freest and privatist product of the human mind and heart is a love letter. The writer gets his limitless freedom of statement and expression from his sense that no stranger is going to see that he is writing. Sometimes there is a breach of promise case by and by, And when he sees his letter in print, it makes him cruelly uncomfortable, and he perceives that he never would have unbosomed himself to that large and honest degree if he had known that he was writing for the public. He cannot find anything in the letter that was not true, honest, and respect-worthy. But no matter, he would have been very much more reserved if he had known he was writing for print. It has seemed to me that I could be as frank and free and unembarrassed as a love letter if I knew that I was writing, if I knew that what I was writing could be exposed to no eye until I was dead and unaware and indifferent. Isn't that the coolest preface? I mean, isn't that the coolest thing from an author to think about the fact that he was speaking from the grave, from his heart. If I remember correctly from what I've read about him, he started writing this. I don't remember when he actually started writing it, but he was writing it with the idea that it was not going to be printed until he was dead and gone. So it kind of made me wonder. It's sort of like, what are we holding back from ourselves for fear of judgment? What are we holding? Yeah. So what are we holding back from ourselves for fear of judgment? And are we waiting until, are we going to write our own life story but not have it printed until after we are gone? So it's sort of like very, very interesting it was very interesting to read that, to know that he was going to be completely transparent in his autobiography, knowing that it wasn't going to be printed until he was dead. And he kind of knew when he was going to die anyway, because in 1909, because he was born in 1935, about 2 weeks after Halley's Comet was its brightest in the sky, he passed on the 21st of April 1910, I want to say, which is the day after Halley's Comet returned and was the brightest in the sky. And he had actually predicted in 1909 about how, he came in on Halley's Comet in 1835, and he was going to go out on Halley's Comet next year, being 1910, and wouldn't it be a great disappointment if that did not happen? And he had this whole quote about it, and it was just really cute. So I've enjoyed reading a lot of his quotes and things, and surprisingly, I thought I'd never read any of his work until I realized that he wrote The Prince and the Pauper, and I thought, I actually enjoyed that book. It was really good, but I totally forgot that he was the one that wrote it. But I've never read Mark Twain or Huckleberry Finn, and so our book club is reading Tom Sawyer for our first one, and we're going to meet on the 6th of February to discuss the book. And throughout the month, we're putting into the group little bits of trivia about Mark Twain, about the book Tom Sawyer, about the characters, and some of the things behind Tom Sawyer. And we're connecting it all to genealogy as well. So we're asking questions like, did you have, who in your family tree was alive during the period that this book was based? Who in your family tree may have been living in the area in which this book was based? Questions like that. Or do you, what occupations did those in your family tree who were alive during that time have? So we can compare it and things. But Tom Sawyer is a collection of real life events. And Mark Twain said that there was one or two that of the events in the book that actually occurred to him, and some of the other ones were and Tom Sawyer was a combination of 3 friends that he had at the time, and he wrote this book 30 to 40 years after he had been in the town there on the river of Mississippi where he bases the book, and so he was talking about how Tom Sawyer is a combination of 3 of the friends that he had at the time. And so I thought that was kind of interesting. So I've actually started reading it, but then I realized the time and thought, nope, I have to get back to work. So it got put aside because I thought I was reading it on my lunch break, and then so I started reading it, and then I looked at the clock and went, oh, my lunch break's actually over. So I had done all this other personal stuff during my lunch break, and thought, oh, I'll get some Tom Sawyer in. And I think I got the first paragraph of the book in, and I was like, damn, it's time to go back to work. So that's been put aside for now. So, but I thought that was interesting, his autobiography, how he says he's writing this from the grave, knowing that nobody will see it while he is alive, that nobody will be able to read it till after he is gone, and by then he will be, what did he say? He would be So that's it from us for today. We are going to go off. We're going to go have a walk because I have another call in 45 minutes I need to be on. So we're going to go get Zephy's walk in, and we'll go see how she does it heel today on the leash, which will be interesting. But if you'd like to join us with the Love to Read Classics book club, then please go to the link that is in the description and join us over there. You'll have one question to answer when you come in, and that is what is one of your favorite classic books that you enjoyed reading? And we're going to be using that list to pick some of our next book club of the month. I already have some classics that I would like to read this year already in mind. I should go write them down so I don't forget them. But it's going to be an interesting year with this, and this is part of fun. It's part of learning and fun, and learning more about history through novels. Because when you read a lot of novels that were based in a time period, especially around, like Jane Austen, for example, or Charles Dickens, they were writing about times that they knew about. In those days, you didn't travel very far. You weren't going off on these great big long adventures and everything else. So most writers during that time period would write about what they knew about in that time period. It could be based on things that had happened to them. It could be based on stories they had heard from other people. But it was usually based in the area in which they were born and raised, or the area they were currently living, or an area that they had been raised in, but they were living somewhere else. Like in the case of Mark Twain, he was up in, I'm going to say Connecticut, it might have been Massachusetts. Oh, can't remember which it was. It was somewhere up in the New England area. He was up there when he actually wrote Tom Sawyer and then Huckleberry Finn, even though it was based in the town that he grew up in. Very interesting things about how people moved around and all that sort of stuff. And and you can learn a lot about history and through novels, because you start reading about an event that happened, and then you're sort of like, did it really happen that way? And you go look it up and you read and you learn some more about that particular event in history. And so like, oh, okay, now I got a little more background. And yeah. But anyway, that's it from us for today. Hope you've had a super fantastic Sparkling Magic Monday. We will catch you tomorrow morning for Tune Up Tuesday. Hei konera!